Dun, 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 dun. Ted's flute is messing up. Dun, dun, dun.
I actually surprised myself with that flute solo, folks.
That was coming in good. That was good.
I think my favorite development from this whole exercise is I'm now surprisingly getting good at the flute.
And welcome to Dungeon Master Level 1. I am your Dungeon Master Merritt. With me, as always, is my heterosexual life partner, Ted. This is a podcast about a group of new Dungeons and Dragons players with a first-time Dungeon Master. And yeah, so that's awesome.
Love the Kevin Smith ref. You can't start a pod with two dudes unless you reference our king, KS,
the
Kevin
podcast
Smith.
king, the podcast king, for sure.
The podcast king, Kevin Smith. You know, one of my friends saw him in real life the other day. He was out hiking. He was apparently they had a 25th anniversary of the Clerks.
Oh, cool.
Movie. I think that came out 25 years ago.
That sounds about right.
It was the day after that, and he was wearing, wait for it, a Clerks t-shirt.
That's pretty boss, I think, wearing a t-shirt of your own movie.
Sure, absolutely. He was also in Runyon Canyon, which, for those of you who may not know Los Angeles, that is where all the aspiring actors and actual celebrities, it's where everybody goes to hike here. I have not been there yet, but apparently there are a lot of great conversations that you can a lot of LA-centric conversations
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, he was one of the first people to like do a podcast. Like,
really?
Yeah, I think so. He got into it like really, really early.
He really he has some great stories, but I think he also really likes to hear himself talk. Sorry, Kevin Smith. Love to have you on. I'm just listening to him like, So what did you think of the campaign this week, Kevin?
Anyway, yeah.
Welcome. What a week. What a sesh.
Yeah.
We gotta everyone stand up. Everyone, if you're listening at home, stand up. And we have to applaud Merritt for an outstanding session this week. If you're listening at home and you're not standing up, you're an enemy of the podcast now. Send your name to Merritt at the Irish Roger on Twitter. Merritt, you've been freezing sometimes, but I'm hoping that it's still recording because
it is still
nonstop.
recording. It's my camera that's freezing. I don't know what's going on with it, but I think we're still good to go. It's still recording and the audio is coming through. So yeah, we're good.
Sweet. Great sesh though. I mean, again, just 10 out of 10.
Oh, well, thank you.
Really, really looped in everybody's backstories, really did it in an effective way. And one thing I really loved is that you wrote stuff to read, which is something that I think a lot of dungeon masters don't do. You need to actually sit down and write out a piece of prose to read aloud, because I think it just provides for a more literary enriching experience.
Yeah. So we'll get to what it was, but that was I spent a lot of time thinking about what each character was going to go through in this situation. And I really wanted specific details. I really wanted to not forget things. As I've said before, there have been moments that I forgot to do, like when doing a character introduction or walking through certain things that nothing of critical importance, but like some stuff that would have been really good, I think, that I had forgotten from time to time. And so I really wanted to make sure I hit every point for every character going through this. Would you like to do a plot rundown of what happened?
Oh boy. Yeah. So we're back on the Stormrider. We had I'm not going to go into the minutia of everything that we did, but we had 3 days of travel time. So we elected to do different things on the Stormrider. Raccoon had a panic attack and had to sit one of those days out. I elected to search the ship for anything that was out of place. Nothing was out of place. It was just something I thought could be fun. Then I also started making a clockwork direwolf. One thing I'm trying to do is use the skills that I have on my character sheet just for fun because it's
Yeah.
a good time.
I loved
And,
I loved the Clockwork Direwolf. That was so clever and what a perfect like gnomish
mhm.
downtime activity, just little tinkering.
Yep.
Like those sort of skills are the things that are often not used in Dungeons and Dragons campaigns because it's not a combat skill. It's not
And
yeah,
well,
it's
sorry
not
to interject, but I have a really bad joke. But will that Clockwork Direwolf turn into Chekhov's Clockwork Direwolf? Time will tell.
I don't know. I don't know. I know I froze again. What is going on?
It's all right. It doesn't matter. Folks, if
Ugh.
you're watching the Discord, if you're someone in this Discord chat room, hello, welcome. You're not, but Barrett's video keeps freezing, but I think we should just move past it
Yeah,
and
we'll just
not
move on.
address it
We don't
because
need to mention it again. So yeah, I thought that was brilliant use of the Tinker tools and a cool downtime activity. Going back again, one of the, like I just mentioned, I forget things sometimes. One of the things I forgot is that part of the character work I did with Steve for Raccoon was that he gets panic attacks about the things he has had to do as like the head warrior for his tribe. He doesn't like what he's done. He doesn't like the role he's in. And so he gets panic attacks about it, and we sort of justified it that had not come up because you hadn't really fought any sentient beings. You fought the bandits, and I think I might have made Steve roll for the bandits, and he had a low roll, and so did not have a panic attack.
right.
But then everything else has just been sort of like creatures, and it hasn't really affected him. But this time, with the civilians in danger in Desire and the human shaped, if not actual human enemies, it got to him this time. And he rolled poorly for it, and so he had a panic attack and lost a day, which I think he played well and I think worked pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That was great. I loved that. But yeah, so basically just to get back to the plot overview, we had some downtime. Sam had found a chest of stuff that we don't know what it is. I don't think he told us. I think he kept that to himself, or maybe he didn't. I don't quite recall.
There was a letter in there that he kept to himself.
Right.
You probably saw the stuff because it was like a bow. Like one of them was the bow, and so he took the bow with him when you left the ship, and the other was an amulet, which I know he said he took out and put on. So you probably saw that. Whether you took note of it, in character or not, is probably not. I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal if you're not paying close attention. You may not notice that his bow has changed. Like, it's still a short bow. You saw him with a short bow. Unless you really know weapons, you may not notice that it's a different bow. And there's nothing particularly out of order about someone taking out a necklace and putting it on. You might just think it's a regular old good luck charm or something. So yeah, I would say the characters are not fully up on what he has in there.
Yeah, agreed. So that happened, and then Lek, we noticed that the sword that Barter had the same insignia as the dagger that we pulled from the necromancer. Right?
Close. You notice I love the way
we played this like a week and a half ago. I don't remember a lot of the details.
It was 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
Look, it could have been 6 months ago. It's all completely out of the brain.
Right? Time has no meaning anymore. So
got that right.
That
sorry, could you hear that?
Yep. Nope. I hear you totally fine. I hear you totally fine. There's
I've been refilling my glass.
I heard it a little bit. So I love the way you did the investigation into this dagger that the cultist had, because there was not a lot to go on. You you had Alexandria transcribe the runes.
Yep.
So you learned a little bit about like the character of the person holding the dagger, because it was, I believe I said it was something like, the servants of the deceiver shall survive
Right.
forever, something like that.
Something like that.
And then
some hippy dippy
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
You know.
And so, but that didn't really give you much more clue, much of a clue. That sort of is like, okay, that sort of fits into, he's a cultist. The deceiver's the bad guy. Then to go to like try and find out other people who might know a different route, to go to Anna, the engineer, who might maybe know something, or the weapons expert, and that struck gold, because then he was able to tell from the composition of the dagger's metal that it was the same metal as a sword they had in the ship's armory. And then that sword had a insignia on it that matched the Guild of Wonder medallion that you also found on the cultist. So now you have a even stronger tie between the cultist and the Guild of Wonder.
Right. Which is really interesting, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. But that's pretty much where I think that was the biggest reveals with the dagger. I had a medallion that I purchased from the Guild of Wonder store that I thought had something in common with that, which is yet to be determined, but I didn't want to dwell on it, so we moved past it. I read my self-help book, and you said that I discovered something that you wouldn't tell me until later, and I don't remember if we had that conversation or not. Maybe we did, but
that was sort of what you were learning. What you sort of discovered there was supposed to relate to the experience you had in the cave.
Gotcha. Okay, then that makes sense. That tracks. Okay, perfect. So then, speaking of the cave, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. We land on the continent. We hear a battle far away. There's some like discussion over what to do. Barter and I decide to try to sneak ahead of everybody, but then the battle ends before we show up. And we show up, and Rokun's kinsmen have just defeated a whole bunch of orcs. And there's this very emotional reunion with Rokun and his kinsmen, and then we learn of this cave that we then go to.
Yep.
That was that we show up to, and it's just a black hole in the side of the mountain. And through much more deliberating, trying to sort of outfox whatever we had in store, Barter and I tie our ropes around our waists, give the other end to the two strongest people, and then holding hands. Barter and I held hands a lot in this session, which was very fun for us. Barter and Bosch, who knows? Maybe there's a love connection. Wouldn't that be fun? Actually, that would be awesome if that happened. But might be weird, but for me and Sam. But you know what? If that's the natural progression, so be it.
Maybe.
It's 2022. You can do whatever you want in D&D, folks. Anyway, so then we stepped into the cave thinking that this is a foolproof plan. And as soon as we do, we learn that the enchantment in that cave is way too strong, and our plan failed miserably. So they can't see us, they can't hear us, and they have a choice. Can we like run away, or can we just go after them? And they elect to go after us. And then we get into this really high concept mind palace-y spiel.
Yeah, it was like
I was going to say it was a spiel. It was more than a spiel. It was actually I would say if you were playing a AAA game, this would be a really excellent cutscene.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it was. Or, it was each of the characters experienced a personal emotional hurdle.
Right.
They sort of
dealing with their past trauma.
Yeah, they each relived like kind of the worst moments of their past, and had a little bit of insight, not into their failures, but like into what's holding them back in a lot of ways. And that was interesting because it was easy to come up with the ones for Bosch and Barter. I had more trouble with what to say for Lek because he hasn't really had a chance to let anyone down. Like, so the other ones were sort of like, how they've let people down, where the mistakes they've made. Lek hasn't really had that opportunity. He went from being a
Right.
child to being captured, and then is like here. He hasn't lived a life. He's been in a cage.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting to come up with, like, what I would have and who I would have say that to, something to him. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it worked out, and it'll pay off more going forwards.
Right. And that was, but one thing I really liked about this too, though, is that it allowed us to hear one another's backstories in a more
Mm-hmm.
narrative way instead of just me saying like, "This is what happened."
Yeah.
Instead of like seeing that is always a much more powerful tool, which I thought was excellent. We
Yeah.
all actually, fun fact, at the end of this, remember earlier where I said you better stand up and applaud if you're listening along. The rest of us actually did stand up and applaud Merritt at the end. And if we had been in the same room, we would have cheered. We would have lifted him up onto our shoulders and carried him out of the room before throwing him into bed with his wife.
Throwing me into bed with my wife. Oh man.
Shout out, Laura, if you're listening. I meant that with no disrespect. I don't know why I said that. It just creeped into my brain.
That was also part of why I did this, is because Sam is new, didn't get a run through of each of your backstories.
He's not playing a character he created.
That was his backstory.
Right.
He created that
That was his
backstory.
backstory, but the character, right. But
Right.
I was just adding on to
Yeah.
Sam's situation.
Yeah. So he came into, basically the only thing defined about the character was that, like, that it was a halfling rogue that served the king. That's it.
Right.
That's all that was established.
Right.
So he took that and then developed the backstory for how he got where he is right now. So I think that made it a lot. And he's also planted a couple of things for character development, so I think could be great, and that sort of stuff. So he's really, for coming into and not having a character 100% his own, he has done a huge amount to make it his own, which is awesome.
Oh, dude, I can't imagine this campaign without him. He's such a welcome addition. Has like creative ideas, and the session he likes to get wild and chaotic, which I'm all about. He's very funny.
You and he feed into each other.
Like when we started, I was like Mr. Chaos, and then he joined, and now it's like Mr. and Mr. Chaos.
How can we
two double dragons of chaos?
Yeah, how can we be more chaotic?
As much discord and chaos as possible,
and throw more wrenches into everything. Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, so we all had a cutscene of our backstory. Not gonna go into super specifics there because it was really Raccoon's moment, right? Because we were going after his artifact, because we know that we have to retrieve these 3 artifacts and also learn something about ourselves, which I think is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And Raccoon comes to face a shadow of himself, very similar to, say, like Dark Link in Legend of Zelda, or in Final Fantasy IV, folks, when Cecil goes to the top of Mount Ordeals and he has to face the darkness within himself and become a paladin, which honestly is that is a thing that I remember from my childhood that I thought was such a excellent point in any story. Just like such a deep and specific theme of how do you come to terms with the evil that lives inside you, because that's just how life is. You know, there's dark things. People are capable of terrible things, and they're capable of good things. And what's compelling are the people who have lived such a bad life doing bad things to good people, and how they come to terms with that and seek redemption.
Yeah, 100%. This whole encounter, all the flashbacks and reliving past memories for Bosch, Barter, and Lek came from the idea that I wanted Raccoon to have this encounter with the personification of his rage. That's what
Right.
he has been uncomfortable with. Bosch is uncomfortable with things, Lek is other things. Raccoon has been most uncomfortable with his rage. And
Right.
so this was a realized battle against his rage, and there were so many ways he could have gone through it, that he could have just kept fighting until it was over, which is kind of what I thought was going to have happen. And if that is what happened, I would then have it come back, like that he would defeat it, but without somehow acknowledging that it's a part of him, it'll continue to haunt him. And so I wasn't 100% sure how that was going to work out. I was going to sort of play it by ear, but then when he had Raccoon try to grab the necklace that Raccoon had lost, that this personification of his rage was wearing, I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I didn't think about that, but that's going to be amazing. So he had him try to do it, and then he rolled a nat 20 on the I think I had him do a grappling check or something to get it, and he rolled a nat 20, so he didn't even have to do an opposed athletics check to keep it. He just got it right away, and then that led into a alternate path to defeat and acknowledge and move on from his rage. So the combat ended, and there were other checks to see if he comforts it, if he consoles it, if he rejects it. And so he seeing this version of himself in anguish, he reached out towards it, and it merged back with him. And so that was when I had everybody take their headphones off to have a conversation with just Steve.
Right, which I also loved, even though I see when you signaled us to come back because my headphones stopped working. But,
well, and opposed to that, Wright thought I signaled it when I did not, and he put them back on too early. And so he was just like, oh, I just heard all of that. Was I not supposed to? I was like, all right, whatever. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Okay, right, whatever. It's fine. Who cares? The other thing is, I think that he should. I think that. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you how to DM. That's not what this is about. I think that from an operational logistic standpoint, just because we are all on Zoom, it might be easier just to say, okay, I'm going to just have everybody leave the Discord. Just leave the Discord. And then I'll text a group text to come back. Or we're just going to end, except for Steve, stick around, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Those are two bad pitches.
Maybe I could. I mean, I think maybe I could text to have you guys put the headphones back on. Leaving the Discord presents an issue because it messes up the cameras and the recording.
Oh, the OBS, right?
Yeah,
we must think of our Twitch followers.
We have to think of that.
What's happening? Which, folks, this is actually a perfect opportunity to announce we will now be streaming these sessions on Twitch. So follow at the Irish Roger. It's going to be on yours, right?
Yeah.
And follow at the Irish Roger on Twitch, on Twitter. DM him your nudes, and also
please no nudes. 100% from nobody.
Send all of your butt pics to at the Irish Roger, and also if you want to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, hit us up.
Please do.
I saw we had 2 5-star ratings.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know who they were from, and they didn't leave a comment, but whoever you are.
If I had to guess, I would think one is my wife and one is Sam.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you. I'm actually the worst. I was thinking about this. I'm actually the worst because I haven't promoted this at all, and I apologize for that.
It's fine.
I'm like, oh yeah, aren't I doing this thing twice a week? It's a creative outlet that I'm playing D&D, and we're spending
so much of my time.
That's classic me.
But
who knows? Maybe those other unnamed podcasts about D&D or content about D&D will see that.
We're
and
going
say,
for the.
You know what? We got to get these guys on.
We're
here.
going for the real, slow, fully organic growth. No inflated numbers here. We're
Yeah, you know what? Hell yeah, I'm with that. 5 years from now, we have 100 subscribers, and I'm going to call that a win. It's all about being consistent anyway.
Yeah.
You just got to keep doing it until you find an audience.
yeah.
Anyway, not that I know anything about that because I've never stuck with anything my entire life. Usually give up when things get too hard, except for the flute, and I got to disable the noise suppression whenever I play on Discord. Here's a question.
Yeah.
Would you? Okay, that was a big pop for those audiophiles that they're listening. I'm sorry if you had to hear my exhale into the microphone. Apologies. Would you ever consider? Let's say, okay, so we're going to start the Twitch stream, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Podcast. I know there's so much on your plate because you're working on all of this. Would it make sense to make a highlight video of our game session to put on YouTube?
100%.
Okay.
100%. It is something I want to work on. I do have all of the game sessions recorded. I've uploaded a couple of them to YouTube. I want to get the rest uploaded just so I can clear out some hard drive space. But yeah, I think putting together a highlight reel of like our best moments would be a lot of fun and is something I want to work on at some point.
Number one, the cowboy hat. There's got to be a session where I just slow zoom onto this cowboy hat, smash cut to you.
Yeah.
Just, oh, God damn it, Ted, you're wearing a cowboy hat. The other one I would say is anytime Sam opens his mouth would also be like highlight. Maybe it's going to be anytime Sam saying something and then someone's just laughing. Folks, if you're listening at home, thanks for tuning in to Merritt and Ted having a production meeting about the future of this D&D podcast. Now back to the content. Sesh, Raccoon dealt with his past demons. He had a breakthrough in therapy, combat therapy, if you will. You know what? I have been meaning. Okay, tangent time again, folks. It's time for another.
Here we go, Ted Tangent.
Hold on, I gotta play the theme song. Stand by, Ted's Tangent. So here's the thing about what I was going to say. I think that therapy is important. Have I been to therapy? Not since I was very young. However, combat therapy would be interesting. Just go fight your demons, and maybe that could be a VR thing where you like tell some programmer, hey, these are that I'm like really sad. Also, folks, if you're listening at home and you steal this idea, we're gonna come at you with every lawyer.
We've got it recorded. We came up with the idea on January 27th, 2022. Right. And whoever comes up with it after us, we're coming after you.
Right. We're coming after you. We want 5% of everything. Very reasonable request. 5% of the company, and you better give it to us. And we don't want to do anything.
We don't want to do any of the work.
We don't want to do any of the work. But no, you hire a team of psychotherapists or like just a collaborative team of creatives and developers and artists and all that, and you basically make a game where it's like, what's the thing you don't like about yourself the most, and then you go into a custom designed VR or like video game situation where you like deal with that.
Yeah.
Right. That's just an idea that I just came up with right now, folks.
On the spot.
Also, I want to take a moment from Ted's Tangents to do a Ted's Tangent within Ted's Tangent. So stand by.
Tanception.
Hi, welcome to Ted's Tangents. I got a PS5 this week. Hell yeah. Discord came through. Thank you so much. Everyone listening is probably like, did it happen? It did. This has been Ted's Tangent within a tangent. All right.
Excellent.
So the psychotherapy thing, that was Ted's Tangent. I don't have anything else to say about it.
Well, I was just going to say VR sounds like a perfect opportunity for a combat therapy. You could fight yourself, fight your parents, fight whatever
Wow.
you want in in that. So
Maybe we could get men to start going to therapy, folks.
I have to imagine it probably is in the works at some university, but
Sure.
who knows?
Who knows?
Going back to Raccoon's combat therapy,
Right.
so also part of the part where I had everybody take their headphones off was a conversation with Steve about, okay, so Raccoon has now faced his rage, which he views as like his greatest shortcoming as a person. He's never been comfortable with it. You now have the opportunity to fully embrace it and continue the path of a barbarian, full barbarian.
Oh yeah, this was awesome.
You can reject it, and remember, keeping in mind what you said the first session of, as your tribe is preparing for a battle, you're just sitting out on a cliff looking out over the woods trying to be one with nature. So you could either fully reject your rage and reclass into being a druid, or you can
Druids are dope.
Hold on. Yeah, druids are super
Druids
dope.
are fucking
Druids
awesome.
are fucking
I
awesome.
played a druid in the very first D&D campaign I played, and I was like, wow, druid can do a lot of cool shit.
I did a druid in the first campaign I played. Druids are super cool.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, druid buddies.
The druid buds. Oh my god, how about that?
So, and then, or he could multi-class into it, which there are some really cool things you can do as a druid barbarian.
Oh yeah.
So that you can't spell cast when you're raging, but you can wild shape and then rage, which gives you a fresh pool of hit points.
Dang.
You take half damage. You are the animal. Then when that animal's hit points reach 0, you're back to still being a raging barbarian.
Wow.
So
that's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. It's really cool. And that also ties into the bracer he got in the, I think, when you rescued Zandmi. His bracer, it was a staff of healing that it like turned into a bracer, so he could just wear it on his arm. But barbarians can't spellcast. By the book, the staff of healing can only be used by a spellcaster. But I was sort of planting the seed that there was more to Raccoon than just raging. I think if he had just said full barbarian, I would have let him keep the staff of healing, but when the charges were gone, it would have lost its functionality.
Nice. I like that.
I think that's what I would have done. But he went druid, so he still has the staff of healing.
Hell yeah.
So that is where we ended the episode. I want to go into something.
Hold up. There is
actually, go for it. Go for it.
You said, guess what, folks? Now you're level 3.
Oh, yep. And everybody leveled
up. So we all gained a level, which is awesome because I learned that the monk gets some cool ass.
Gets some awesome stuff at level 3. Tell us about
it. I will tell you about it. So at level 3, you get the choice you basically commit yourself to a monastic tradition, right? So what that means is that there are a bunch of different monastic traditions that were in D&D Beyond. I read all of them to make a decision. And this was actually fun for me because I was forced to remember what the rules that I established for my character and what Bosch would probably do. And Bosch, A, recovering alcoholic, B, hates magic. And a lot of these monastic traditions are like, you get magic spells now. And I'm like, no, Bosch would not want that. So instead, I picked Way of the Drunken Master, which is like, if you've seen the Jackie Chan movie, The Legend of the Drunken Master, fantastic film, by the way. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's cool as hell. Jackie Chan is the master. So I chose that, and I also get deflect missiles.
Yes,
as an action in
deflect
combat.
missiles is very cool.
It's gonna be lit. I can't wait for that. And then let's see. I picked Drunken Master, and then I got this whole thought process of like, what if? Oh, and the other thing is, I get it's almost like it's starting to stretch into bard territory because Drunken Master becomes very gregarious. He starts like being very entertaining. He
Mm-hmm.
gets like
Mm-hmm.
advantage on. I get advantage on performance
Nice.
rolls now, and I have a pretty high charisma
Yeah.
thing anyway, so that's going to be dope. Um, I'm very excited about it. I'm excited to see where it goes. I also get brewer's supplies. So
Cool.
does that mean that Barter is going to start relapsing? Maybe.
Maybe.
Could be fun.
Maybe.
That could be fun to play with. But yeah, that's kind of sort of where I'm going. I'm starting to think about like season long arcs for him. I have 3 key points now. Key points are lit. If you can get some key points in real life, I'd
Key
say.
points are super dope. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what happened with me. I did that after we signed off. I added that info,
Nice.
so I'm
Nice.
excited for next week.
Very
I'm
cool.
always excited for next week.
I actually need to answer. Sam asked some questions about leveling up. I need to get back in touch with him to do that. So yeah.
Same.
But
Blast questions online, and we'll make fun of it. No, just kidding.
we're
Don't do that.
gonna go on a merit tangent.
Oh, hold on. Let me play the song. Hold on. Wait. If we're going on a merit tangent, we need to play the song.
All right.
The fans know what they want. Here we go. It's time for a merit tangent. All right.
Cool.
Continue.
So we were both druids in our first short sorties into D&D. Let's talk about let's just do a little talk about our backstories. What was the character you came up with? I'm excited to hear this.
Okay. This was truly 22 years ago. So I don't remember all of the specifics, but here's what I do remember. Our dungeon master, shout out Clint, fantastic. He just was like, "Do you guys want to play D&D?" And he like did a lot of work into doing the D&D campaigns, and we played pretty regularly, not like every week, but like periodically be like, "Hey, it's Saturday, you want to play D&D?" I did some stuff. We're like, "Cool." Here's what I remember from that campaign. There was this house we kept coming across that had this stairwell that just kept going up, like in Mario 64, where there's that stairwell where you need to like start and you just can't keep going.
Yeah.
And we tried everything to figure this house out until finally someone in our party like got like it wasn't a wish spell, which is like the most powerful spell in the game, but it was like something that was like you could summon something to like tell you a secret about the game. And so he summoned this
How do we get up these stairs?
Yeah. It was like, what's the deal with this house? And this is what I remember. This is like not in game. This is me in real life in my parents' basement. I'm sitting in the basement, and Clint's like, "Okay, come with me." And he like takes the person who like this guy Nate who had cast the spell. They both go upstairs, and he's like, "You have to stay down here because it was just for like Nate." They're upstairs for like 5 minutes, and the whole time I'm just like, "Fuck, what is happening? What is going on? Like, what is going on?" About 5 minutes later, Nate comes downstairs and he is pissed. He is livid. And he sits down and in character, he just goes, "Let's go." And I'm like, "What happened?" He's like, "I can't tell you. Let's go." And to this day, I don't know what was said. And I still think about it sometimes 20 plus years later.
Are you in touch with any of them? You got to find out what it was.
I don't know if it's worth a reconnection, but maybe it will be. Who knows? Maybe they'll listen to this.
Because I'm just interested to know what the mechanic was and like, why was he so angry about it? Like
the other side of that is I could DM them and have them be like, "What are you talking about? I don't remember."
They might have no clue. They might have no clue.
It's lost to time forever.
That would be the kind of thing that haunts me forever. If I did not if I did not get an answer to that, I would just be like, what was up with those goddamn stairs?
Yeah. So that was that. Sorry, I don't have a more satisfying answer, but
hey, that's cool.
When I was a druid, here are the other things I remember. Number 1, I was a half elf druid, I think. I had the ability to change into an animal. I chose a penguin for some reason. I thought it was funny. Also, our dungeon master got pretty loose. We did some very silly things. We went to the Planet of the Apes in one campaign.
Nice.
One of my friends, Matt, played a character that was named after our high school archaeology/sociology teacher named Mr. Darnell. This character name was literally Mr. Darnell. And shout out Mr. Darnell. He was one of the best teachers I've ever had because he was this hulking 8-foot tall rancher guy in Wyoming who had forearms the size of like your thigh, and he had a very neat mustache, a very like clean cut like haircut, and he always wore these like Western short sleeve shirts that his muscles were just like bursting out of. But he wasn't like bodybuilder muscles. These are like ranch hand
Farm
working
muscles.
class muscles. Yeah, these
Yeah.
are ranch muscles, folks. And he was so intimidating. He would make senior athlete boys cry with a whisper. He was a tall tale in the making. He was incredible.
That's amazing.
And there was one day I was late to class, and he like pulled me aside, and he was just like, "What's going on?" And I just immediately started crying. Like so intimidated by him. He was such like, but he was such a like good teacher and so like compassionate. Here's another fun fact: he got in trouble at Yellowstone because he tried to drive out of Yellowstone with like 100 pounds of obsidian or something.
Just,
That's a whole other story for another
just
time.
taking all the
Changes to
obsidian.
this. But the main thing I remember about D&D is that Clint, one day we were in a study hall together, and he was just like, he did something I thought was really interesting and really cool, is that he thought that there were so many great things you get when you start getting to like level 7, level 8, whatever, that he was like, I'm just going to do a time dash. So like 2 years later, it's like 3 years later for our squad, we've all gone our separate ways, and then it's like we have to like reconvene for whatever reason. And I remember sitting in study hall, and he's like, "All right, so you're good with staying a druid?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay," and he like starts writing like on this piece of paper, and then he passes it to me, and he has handwritten, and he didn't have very neat handwriting, so it's kind of like just sloppy. Sorry, Clint, if you're listening. He had like I have sloppy handwriting too. Whatever. It's like the writing of
mine's
a mad
terrible.
person. It's like here's the thing you need to know. And at the top of the page it said like 5 years later in big letters, and then proceeds to tell me what my character had been up to for the past 5 years. And I'm just going to give you the broad strokes. My character went to jail, befriended a talking penguin named Nelson Mandela, basically ended apartheid in wherever we were.
Wow.
In whatever like, magical realm we were. And then I had the ability to turn into a penguin, and I had him as like a close confidant when we reconvened. And then we kind of just like played once or twice after that, and that's really all I remember.
Very cool. Tangent from our tangent. I also have terrible handwriting. One time my wife and I went on a cruise. Do you know this story?
Maybe. I don't know. I've heard, I remember you and Laura went on a cruise.
Yeah, we went on a cruise.
Stories from that cruise where you said, here's a story, and every single story I was like, I'm never going on a cruise.
Oh,
it's just not for me.
Never go on a cruise. We had a good
cool.
time because it was cheap. Cruises are pretty cheap for the type of vacations they are.
They're really cheap now, baby.
And they're super cheap now because you're gonna die.
Right.
But so this was probably 15 years ago, and we went on this cruise and had a great time. And I just loved the towel animals that they would put in your room on your bed when you got back. And so like they asked for, a sheet to fill out, like, tell us about your experience. And most of it was just checking off. And so I did that. And then at the bottom, do you have any other notes? And I wrote more towel animals because they didn't do it every day. And so my wife was like, they're going to think a deranged child wrote this.
I also have you ever even thoughts? And very earnestly, you're just like, yeah, I have some thoughts. I want more towel animals on my bed every day because I didn't get it every day. I want more of them. Show me your best towel animals. Oh my God, it's so funny. It's also imagining like not even in the lines, just like really just like more towel animals, and then like, well, clearly a deranged, escaped mental patient came in. Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so my first
druid experience. Yes.
My first character. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago. This was my straight up first time playing D&D. I was joining a campaign that was already in progress and had been for a while. And so I was talking with them about like what kind of, I wanted to fill whatever role was needed. And it's like,
Right.
okay, so like what do you have? And I think they had a wizard, a rogue, or a wizard, a ranger, and a fighter. I was like, okay, so you clearly need something that can do some healing. But I didn't
You
want
need
to.
someone who can heal. Yep.
I didn't want to do cleric, or paladin because I thought that was too close. So I was like, you know what, druids can do some healing. They can also do some spell casting. I think that sounds like a good place to go. So I decided to do a druid, and the character I came up with was named Finton Wildwolf. And he was a dwarf druid, and his story was that he was from a mining dwarf colony, and like as that his parents spent their entire life in the mines, and this is like a Mines of, I was envisioning like a Mines of Moria type thing, like before they went too deep, like at the height of its society. And so, but he like didn't like being underground. He always wanted to be outside. He like as a kid, so that's what he was. He was outside. And then one day he came across a group of bandits with his brother. And the bandits grabbed his brother, and he panicked and ran back to his parents. But the bandits followed him.
Oh.
And so they were coming to raid the mining outpost. And so they arrive, start wreaking havoc. He is overwhelmed, and through divine intervention, for the first time I think I said like 8 years old, 10 years old, something like that.
Right.
Wild shapes into a direwolf.
Whoa.
And as this direwolf tears up the bandits, drives them away, just goes full beast and drives them out of the colony. But when he comes back, still as a wolf, he sees his family and the other dwarves terrified because they didn't know it's him. They just sort of see this beast that caused this havoc. And so he runs away and goes and lives in the wood. He thinks his parents are scared and ashamed of him. He runs away. He lives in the woods for the next 20 years. And that's when he, kind of similar to how our characters get taken through a warp storm, he's in the woods one day and a being opens a interdimensional door, says, "You've come to our attention as someone who can help us. Would you like to come? This is an important quest to help set things right in a different world." And so he steps through and does so. And then unfortunately, that campaign ended after about, I think, 4 or 5 sessions because the DM had some stuff going on. Just like she couldn't do it anymore, which sucks.
Well, let's be fair. Excuse me. It's a lot of work.
It's a ton of work.
It's a campaign.
It's a lot of work. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. So yeah. But so that was my first game as a druid.
Wow. That's so wild that we both played as a druid the first time.
That is
It's
funny.
fun to play as a druid.
Yeah.
But I this time I wanted to play as something that I was like, I'm pretty sure nobody else is going to pick this because there's always like, I want to be the tank. I want to like do all the fighting. I want to do this and I want to do that. And I was like, I want to do something that's going to like force me to think outside the box in combat and have to find creative solutions and challenge
100%.
the DM as much as possible.
100%.
Well, great.
Yeah.
What a great sesh. I can't wait for Tuesday. I can't wait to see what happens next because we got to go get the rest of those artifacts. And Greg's got to die, baby. Greg is the wizard who
the evil wizard. Yep.
Evil. Oh, right. Sorry, not to be confused with Greg, the good wizard.
Greg the good.
Greg the Good. I'm Greg the Gray. Greg
You
the
also
Good and Greg...
you also mentioned something that I had not even thought about, but I think I need to somehow figure out how to work up. Is that the three items found on the cultists were the spell crystal that is out of charges, but with some work, Alexandria may be able to hold spells again. The dagger, and then the Guild of Wonder medallion that I was trying to decide what exactly that was. And at first I thought it was like a token that would allow the bearer to access like either special items or like exchange for one special item at the Guild of Wonder. And then it sort of like set on me that like this could be kind of basically a corporate card for them to pay for the Guild of Wonder. Like that's sort of what it was, what I described it as. That so the bearer of that can bring it into a Guild of Wonder shop. It'll leave a magical imprint on documents, and then they send the documents back to charge the account. And so as I described that, somebody said, it sounds like we need to plan a heist to get into the Guild of Wonder headquarters to get that information.
Yeah.
And so I had not thought of doing that. That is something that you absolutely may be able to do, depending on where you decide to go. And I need to start preparing for that possibility. So
can I tell you about the D&D campaign that I ran that lasted for about 4 sessions?
Yeah, tell me. No, yeah, absolutely want to hear it.
So when I was a DM, I had this idea where I was like, I want to run a D&D campaign. And then I was like, what would be like a fun thing to like throw everybody through? And so I created this like big bad. It was like the first thing I started. I started with the villain. Who's going to be the villain? Who's going to be the antagonist for this group? And I came up with this. This is so stupid, but I came up with this character that was like, I want to say like, the like French aristocracy around like Louis XIV. You know what I mean? Like Louis the 15th.
Yeah.
So, powdered wigs, like stuff like that. And his name was I think I called him Duke Biardi, and I think it's because I wanted to do this really elaborate like Chef Boyardee joke, but I don't remember what the other half of the joke was.
And you never got to it.
And I also forgot what the joke was as soon as I started the campaign, so it didn't matter. And so I had the first session. They all met one another, and a couple things happened. One, I started like just putting a lot more randomness into my campaign, where I'd just be like, okay, this happens and you're going to meet, and then I would like roll the dice, and beforehand I would be like, okay, if I roll a 4, they're going to meet like a dragon, but if I roll a 2, they're going to meet like 6 elves or something like that, stuff like that. And that was fun because it kept me on my toes and forced me to like improvise in the moment. And so long story short, Duke Biardi has the gang arrested under like false. It's basically a sham court. He like did something bad. He like blames them, and then I did the one session. I just did an entire like courtroom scene, had them have a public defender. Who was like a dwarf who like didn't know anything about the law. Like he was like, sorry, I have like 12 cases. What's happening? They of course lose the case. They go to jail, and then I did a whole session that was a jailbreak.
That's awesome.
Like they break out of jail, and then people started falling off the campaign, and so we went our separate ways, and I kind of like tried to come up with ways to like have people like go off on their own and do things. I was like, maybe we could do like 2 different sessions or something, and then we just kind of stopped because it's a lot of work.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's hard to find like a time for everybody to meet in the same place. Yeah. That also sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
On that real pick me up of a note.
Well, no, but when you're saying like, oh, we should do a heist, I'm like, that would be really fun.
A heist would be really fun. A heist would be really cool.
You got to do so much work, and you got to watch
a heist.
Actually, it sounds like it would be fun because you should go through and watch Heat.
Yeah.
You should watch Heat, that movie from '95. Yeah. Fantastic heist scene.
Yeah.
You should watch
The Town.
What else?
The Town.
Definitely watch The Town. Oh, you know what? I think
Ocean's 11, the Ocean's movies.
My girlfriend's going out of town next month. And The Town, I think, is on Netflix, and I've been wanting to watch it again. Ooh. But she doesn't want to watch it, and I think that when she's out of town, I might watch it by myself.
That's a good idea.
One of my favorite things to do is
naughty
to watch
boy.
I'm so bad. I'm such a bad little boy. One of my favorite things to do.
Watching a
when I'm home
10-year-old
is
movie by
turn all-
yourself.
turn lights off, turn all the lights off, and watch a very old like dude movie that I
Yeah.
know there's no way in hell that we would watch together.
Yeah.
But instead tonight I'm gonna go watch the newest episode of it, just like that, folks. I'm actually enjoying it. It is
Good.
like, oh,
You cut out, Ted. You triggered your nose
What?
suppression. Yeah, I don't know what. You triggered your noise thing.
you know what happened? I coughed into the microphone. It's filtered out the pop because
Yeah.
there've been a lot of pops on today's session. Have you been watching it? Did you ever see the movie MacGruber?
No.
Oh,
I
dude,
don't-
it's so dumb.
It
So
looks
dumb.
so
I know you
dumb.
don't like dumb stuff. I know you don't like dumb stuff, but I love dumb stuff, and I genuinely
I like
laugh out
I
loud
like
at MacGruber.
some dumb stuff, but I just MacGruber never really clicked with me.
Look, here's the thing. I didn't care about the sketch either.
Okay.
Everybody was talking about the sketch. Everybody was like, "This is the sketch," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, I get it. It's like funny." The movie is one of my favorite comedy movies of the past 10 years because they play everything as earnestly and as stone-faced as possible.
Okay.
And it's all, and like the lines are so stupid and so dumb, and there are these like running gags. They're like, it's a lot of like poo poo pee pee.
Mhm.
It's a lot of like really like uncomfortable sex stuff. Not in like a
Right.
It's just like there are things that I think about still that I like laugh about because Will Forte and Kristen Wiig are both completely unafraid to do something so ridiculous and so crazy with a
Yeah.
completely straight face.
Yeah.
And then the show has come out, and I'm like laughing out loud at the show. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. I can't be clearer about how dumb it is, but I'm genuinely laughing out loud.
You know what?
And there's like big talent on the show.
Yeah. I'll have to try. I'll try it. I'll take it. If I find it somewhere, I'll take a look. What you should try.
I just have to be clear. It is dumb.
Okay.
So next week when we meet, if you've watched an episode and you say it was dumb, I'm going to be like,
Yep.
roll back the tape. Roll back the tape. What did I say? All right. Sorry. Please continue.
I was going to say what you should try is Peacemaker.
Oh, I want to watch that too.
You
I
gotta-
loved the new Suicide
You
Squad.
watch Peacemaker, and I'll tell you this: YouTube, the intro to Peacemaker, if that alone doesn't sell you, I watched that for the first time, and I tweeted out at James Gunn because I'm sure he'll pay attention and reply. But it's a
Love
huge
to have you on the pod. James Gunn,
come on the
through.
pod. That he managed to create an opening that I will never skip. You know how like it says skip intro on like those shows now? This one I will never skip. I have actually just straight up watched the intro on YouTube 5 or 6 times. It's incredible.
Shows like that. There are 2 other shows like that. Succession. I will always watch the whole intro. I love that theme song. That theme song's a bop. I could listen to it 1,000,000 times. Also, more recently, we just finished the first season of Yellow Jackets. I watched that first intro too because I actually really like that song, and I don't know the name of it, so
This
don't
one,
at me.
This one's not entirely just the song is important, but when you watch it, you'll understand how it's different.
All right,
But anyways,
I will watch it.
we're coming up
But
on
I
our
don't think-
time.
Yep.
So
what a great session.
Awesome.
Great episode. Follow Merritt at the Irish Roger on Twitter. If you have any reviews, leave them for us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And that's it. I don't
All
have
right.
anything else to say.
This has
I'm just gonna
been-
take away the outro. for
Yeah.
you.
this has been Dungeon Master Level 1. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your Dungeon Master Merritt. With me, as always,
your
was my
host,
heterosexual life partner, Ted. Everybody, have a good week. Thanks.
Goodbye.